right. Hey, Maria, how are you?
Great. Saturday of Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, it
Plenty
sure
of more
is.
fun to happen this weekend.
I love your background. What kind of piano is that?
That is a 1947 Steinway M.
Oh,
So it's like a large baby grand, and it is beautiful.
is it 6 foot?
It is 5'9", right? So
Okay.
it's really meant for like a small, like chamber music is what it's designed for. But it has, when you hit the left pedal, it's just gorgeous, velvety sound.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I
I
wish I had a
bet.
bigger one, but hey, you can't have everything.
No, but the vintage Steinways are just. It does it have real ivory keys?
Yeah, it
It
does. It
does. Okay,
does.
so
Yeah.
dead
Yeah.
elephants, but all right. Yeah.
Yeah. The which are actually softer on your hands. It's really,
Oh, I
yeah.
know. I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But when you play a real piano, it's nothing like playing an electric piano. So when I go to out to clubs that don't have a real piano, it just kind of throws me for a curveball.
Well, it's interesting because the Steinways, I don't know, from my experience with Steinway, the action is hard, but it's smooth.
Yeah, probably. Oh yeah, you're right. I'm so used to my Steinway. A lot of other pianos are very loose action, which to me is unusual. But maybe I'm the one who's
But
in the
like,
unusual.
especially if you go from a Steinway to a digital piano.
Oh yeah, oh there's no comparison. Oh, so what happens is when I'm playing the Steinway, a lot of times I'll have the songs worked out. I got the whole. I play with my whole body. It's very like intuitive and improv, and I got the whole vibe going with the hammers and the velvet. And when I get an electric piano, it's like, you know, and it's just complete falls flat. I was doing the Rain song by Led Zeppelin on my Steinway, practicing. I had all these cool nuances and
Oh, wow.
rolls, soft little flutters. And then when I get to the electric piano, it's just a complete failure. Yeah.
So you also play guitar. I see guitars back there. You've got,
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Play rock guitar. I sing in a band called Not From Jersey. I sing vocals and then I play guitar in that band, rock guitar. And then I also play acoustic guitar for
okay.
folk stuff, which I really love having another electric guitarist. And I'm on the acoustic.
Yeah. So I see
Yeah,
a Rickenbacker back there. I see a Fender. What else you've
that's
got?
right. I got a PRS. That's my main axe, the gray one.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah.
the purple sparkle one. I don't know if you can see that one. It's probably missing that one. That's the one all the way. Oh no, you
Gibson Les
can't really
Paul.
see it. You
Yeah.
can't see it.
Sorry.
But I got a custom-made Telecaster, a Fender Strat, Gibson Les Paul, a Music Man, and a Gretsch.
Beautiful. Yeah, very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
So we were talking before the interview, and you said that your influences musically were the same as my influences: the Beatles, Elton John, Billy Joel. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because I started on the piano, and those early years when I was first learning, I learned scales. Like I took piano lessons from a classical music teacher, lost interest after a year, but I knew my scales. I knew how to read music, and then I kind of quit. When I came back into it, I was into like Billy Joel and Elton John, and I would read the music and I would learn the chords and learn about songwriting through the Beatles, like major to minor, and setting, bass lines with different types of inversions, and how to use the thirds and the sevenths, and I learned all this stuff from them. And then after a while, I started playing. I started being interested more in Oscar Peterson, those like Chick Corea and those guys.
Oh,
This is like
Oscar
before I
is.
was like 12. I was like 8, 9
Yeah.
years old when I was doing this. Yeah.
Oscar is probably one of my favorite piano players. Just he's
Oh my God.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Technical precision. Oh, unbelievable. Take the A Train got me hooked. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, him and I think Rick Wakeman on the other side is.
Oh yeah, Rick Wakeman. Yeah,
Yeah.
from Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What was funny was when he was touring, or when he was not touring, they had a
Mm.
replacement keyboard player who was very good, but parts of solos that Rick Wakeman used to do with one hand, that guy had to use two.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. This. Yeah. I don't even try to get that. I figure every musician has to pick the thing that they're really good at, that they're best at, that makes them shine, that brings their energy out. And to me, it's very intuitive playing. With just absolute complete feeling. I want to. Technically, I want to be on it technically. I don't want to be challenging myself technically. I want to be performing, and that's what I think I do. I do well. Other musicians, maybe they're just extremely precise, which I am definitely not.
Let's do a little bit of your story. I know you got a book out called Girl Shock. Um,
Yes.
You want to hold
Here
it
it
up?
is.
There it is. Okay.
Yeah, and it speaks for itself. Where I dressed as a girl for Halloween, and then she took over my life. From straight to fabulous and naughty. I don't think we need any more explanation than that, do we?
Well, not too much, although
Of course, let's go into the details.
let's go a little bit in the details. We got some
Yeah.
time. Your
Yeah.
bio says that after escaping from her straight dude suburban life, it says, I don't have the gay gene, I have the trans and kink gene.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, can you explain trans to some people who might not know what it is? Because there's transsexual and there's transvestite
Yeah.
and there's
Yeah. Yeah.
transgender. So
Yeah,
you've got
that's right, yeah.
three different ones, but everybody says trans, and I never know which one people are referring to.
I know it's almost like when you talk about Christianity. There's Protestants, there's
Catholics and
there's,
Lutherans.
it's almost like that.
yeah.
It's almost like that, right?
Right.
Different, obviously, of course. Yeah, when I first moved here, I didn't know the difference between, first of all, trans folks and drag queens, right? And I had this joke, and I do when I do my show. It's like, it wasn't between a transvestite or a trans woman and a drag queen. And there's some people say $50,000. That's kind of bunk, And I say, well, when the show's over, I'm a trans woman. When the show's over, and it's time to get down and have fun, right? Like go back to bed kind of thing.
Right.
The drag queens strip and become men all the time. Trans women are like, no, I'm going to be a girl all night. Right? That's the first one. It's like the drag culture is not trans at all. It's very, very, very different. I always tell people it's like the difference between bats and birds. We look the same, but up close we're very different. And then within the trans community, there are a lot of different genres. And I talk about this in the book. Is I think we all have a love of the feminine or feel something feminine inside of us. And I think it's like a spectrum. Some of us just are curious. It's literally just probably the same spectrum as on the gay Kinsey scale. Some of us are just curious about the feminine. Some of us, like me, I'm kind of like right in the middle. I can be either one. Right? It's fun being a girl. I shouldn't say it's fun being a guy. It's easy being a guy, right? And some we're women all the way. So does that make sense?
It does, but it also raises other questions too. Because
sure, I'm sure it does. Yeah.
Because the other thing I've noticed is that trans is not exclusively connected to sexual orientation.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. There's actually been many studies that show there's almost no correlation between the two, right? And there's probably interesting dynamics around that. But I know that of the trans people that I personally met, I would say most of them, well, actually the ones that fit into sort of my category where I'm kind of 50-50, there's a lot of trans women that literally we live our lives 50-50 or 60-40, as opposed to ones who have fully transitioned. A lot of us are probably mostly straight, maybe bi-curious, probably like most men naturally are, I would think. Maybe 20% of the girls in my category are really into guys. And that may be true in the general population. Yeah. So it's an interesting dynamic because if you're part-time, it's very different than if you really are fully a woman.
So do you go with men or women or both?
Both. I tell people I'm straight. I just changed my
Okay.
gender. So when I'm a guy, I'm with women, right? When I'm a girl, I'm with guys and sometimes women, like I would expect from a straight woman.
Well, it's a
So I identify
smorgasbord.
as straight, in that sense.
What about Caitlyn Jenner? What do you think the story is with her?
Oh my God, that is such a charged topic. Let me get a drink of water here.
I don't mean politically. I just mean,
Being from a trans perspective?
yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't know actually a lot about her story. I did see her show a bit. I follow it like the average person does. I think that first of all, she's very brave for doing that. I don't have any doubt that she's doing this because that's who she is, right? And that just that alone, regardless of anything else, is powerful and really it makes you respect her for just based on that. If you just take the politics aside, because I'm not even going to get into that.
No,
right?
no,
Because
I didn't.
To me, it's
Yeah.
exactly great. Thank you. Whether or not I saw her show, I think it's interesting that she probably doesn't have as deep experience with trans women as I have, or many women in the community, simply because she's a celebrity. She really so it looks like she maybe doesn't understand the community that well, but I think she's trying, as far as I can tell. I don't follow her that much, but the impression I get is that she could really use other trans women to spend more time with. in a good way.
Yeah, I think she does seem sort of isolated.
Yeah, exactly. And so she's
Yeah.
doing this show that she did. I guess it was called I'm Kate or something like that. And I saw it, and it's kind of like, oh, it's obviously got that reality TV smell to it, which is not surprising, but
Right.
it's not doing the trans community a service if she doesn't really understand the trans community. And I think she was trying to understand the trans community. I just wonder if she could have done it, brought in, aired more on the side of knowing the community better. But that's just my impression. I only saw like 2 episodes.
The other word that's interesting to me, now when I was growing up, the word queer was a derogatory, and you'd never use that word to describe somebody. And now it seems like the LGBTQ community has reclaimed that word and are using it openly. In fact, it's part of the letters, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that word, which was not a nice word to use, why do you think that's been reclaimed?
Oh, it's an interesting point. I mean, I'm trying to think back. I entered this community 15 years ago, 2006. And I think it probably was the same back then. As a matter of fact, even in my community, we used the word tranny. Was originally, meant to be sort of a sexy, dirty word. And then the community sort of started using that word. And then we stopped using it for political reasons, because people didn't understand it. And now some of us are trying to reclaim it. Don't tell me what words I use. It's all the way you use the word, like that's how I relate to it, And so when I think about why is it so important for trans folks to not feel ashamed of using a word that we've been using for 20 years, but try to follow what people want. I get it, but not feel ashamed about it at all. So it's or maybe even reclaim it. Why would that be so important that we would reclaim it, right? And I think it's because we're taking a word that other people used to denigrate us and grabbing that word and raising it on a flag and saying, well, I'm proud then. You know what I mean? Taking the word queer and saying, well, I am a queer. If you want to use a derogatory term, then I will start using it just to rub it in your face because you're an asshole, right? That to me, that's, I think, psychologically what I can relate to. So if somebody says, "Oh, tranny is a derogatory term," I'm like, "Well, I am a tranny." You could have said transvestite. You could have said woman. You could have said Jew. You could have said anything. So I think that's why people reclaim these. I think, this is my opinion.
It disarms the word if you.
Yeah, it disarms the word,
yeah.
And it tells other people in the community these other people are not going to stop using this word. So I want you to be proud of it because something that's taking back our power. Don't engage them in their bullshit. Turn everything they do and make it positive. There's always going to be these viruses out in the world. Something, they probably need help or whatever, but don't engage in that game.
Well, another explanation that I was given was that the word queer is like a general umbrella that covers everybody.
There's that too. Yeah,
okay.
Definitely. I think
where if you say someone is gay or someone is lesbian, that's very specific.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. Here in San Francisco, when somebody says, the big joke is if somebody says they're queer, well, everybody's queer. We already know that, right? The question is whether or not you're out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Can you narrow that down a bit? Yeah.
And then, unless you're like a sort of the unusual college professor who doesn't, like Isaac Newton, never got laid or whatever. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's so general. It's so vague.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so many things in our world. I mean, look at what's happening in social networking today. We use these words to arm ourselves to win an argument in social media. That's what a lot of people are doing, and I think we all know what people are talking about. Actually, it's so bad that I actually wrote a song called Gaslighting. Do you know what gaslighting is?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really powerful to give this thing that we all know exists, psychological manipulation, which is used a lot in social media, and to give it a name. Then even somebody I know very well wasn't born yesterday, suddenly realized that people were gaslighting him. And the fact that we can even say, yeah, he was gaslighting me, just gives you the awareness to negotiate the situation. So I thought, well, I'm going to write a song called Gaslighting, So my artistic way of dealing with this kind of stuff is to write a song about anything that's absurd. I've become the gaslighter in the song. I'm gaslighting you,
So your book is called Girl Shock, and how long has it been out?
It's been out for since early May, and I would have, I'm in 30 bookstores, and in the Bay Area, and but I would have loved to have done events. So sales are going well. I've got some great reviews. What I really want to do is do events and promote people coming out the bookstore, like local author events, music events and that kind of thing. But that's going to happen gradually. So I'm excited that I have something to share, and it's very personal to me. But I think there are a lot of. I wrote it really thinking about the average sort of straight person. Everybody's queer, but straight, if you know what I mean. Trans folks and people who are just curious about this lifestyle, because it's not to me so much about being trans. It's about sort of getting through sort of these traumas that our culture puts on us when we're younger, in terms of trying to control who we are and making us doubt who we are, make us be ashamed of who we are, regardless of what it is. So I'm hoping that people really see that common thread. And there's a lot of fun sex in it too.
And it's a lot.
And lots of videos and all kinds of crazy stories. So I got ice cream and I got vegetables in this book.
We do have to wrap this up. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
I do. It's mariakonner.com with a K. And on it, you'll find information about where to buy the book. I also have myself playing piano, the quarantine cabaret, all these piano videos I did during the quarantine, and other links and things like that. And also my social media profile. I do mostly Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. Thanks so much for coming on the show. This was a lot of